Sociocultural theory posits that the most important forms of human cognitive activity develop through interaction with social and material environment. Sociocultural theory is grounded in the perspective that the individual emerges from social interaction. So let's break this down. Mediation is the introduction of tools to help with a process. Lantoff provides an example of what this means. If we want to plant a tree, we could dig a hole with our hands, but most likely we'll use a shovel. If we really want to be efficient and save our backs, we could use a backhoe. The task is the same, digging a hole, but the action changes based on our choice of tool: hand, shovel, backhoe. In sociocultural theory, an important term is regulation and uses three main types: object, other, or self. For example, this videocast is a type of object regulation, as it uses images and animation to help with comprehension of the topic. Other regulation, then, is mediation by people, such as teachers, who provide informational feedback. When we think about language learning, other regulation can be explicit or implicit feedback on grammatical form, corrective comments on writing assignments, or guidance from an expert or teacher. Self-regulation, then, is just that, the ability of the individual to self-mediate. It's like having control over how one thinks or acts and relying less on external mediation. Self-regulation is not fixed, however. Even the most proficient language learners will encounter challenging situations and will need to reevaluate and reassess. Taking the historical perspective of how humans developed tools, Vygotsky reasoned that humans could develop mental ones. Mental processes allow us to think through situations, plan, and reassess as necessary, instead of acting instinctively. As a cultural artifact, language connects humans to each other and to themselves, and is social by nature. What links thinking with speaking is the idea of the double function linguistic sign that points in two directions, inward and outward. Inward is the mind, and outward is the behavior. Lantoff states that the inward use of language as a symbolic tool is called private speech, which is defined as an individual's externalization of language for purpose of maintaining self-regulation. Any function in the child's cultural development appears twice, or on two planes. These planes are social and psychological, and represent interpsychological and intrapsychological. Inter meaning between, and intra meaning within. Higher order cognitive functions, such as planning or interpretive strategies, begin as social ones and are later internalized to become cognitive resources for the learner. When humans internalize something, they come to rely less on external mediation. So let's talk about zone of proximal development, or ZPD, another important construct in Vygotsky's sociocultural theory. In a nutshell, ZPD is what the learner is able to do on their own versus what they can do with assistance. For example, a learner might be able to greet someone and ask how they are doing because they have learned it as a functional chunk of language. But upon being asked the same question, they may just repeat the question. By themselves, they can ask appropriately but cannot respond. If the expert in the conversation mediates by helping them respond, the learner will eventually add this to his or her repertoire, and that becomes what they can do on their own. Thus, ZPD is constantly shifting. What a learner can do today with mediation becomes what they can do on their own in the future. One area of interest to researchers is the idea of assisted performance. Traditional tests measure learners' attained development, but provide no information about what they could achieve with mediation. If we begin to think in terms of ZPD with assessment, teachers can see both development gained and development potential. To think of ZPD is to think of development, which can occur over a period of short or long time. It is not just about performance, though. Lantoff points out that it is about where performance resides, with the learner or with someone else. When learners take on more responsibility for their performance or what they can do by themselves right now, they are said to have developed, even if their performance hasn't changed a great deal. Because of this, traditional tests and classroom tasks serve only to show limited evidence of development, the knowledge the learner possesses at the given moment in time. Dynamic assessment, on the other hand, shows what learners can do with leveled mediation.